Gordon Smith, you were a writer's assistant on Breaking Bad, and now on Better Call Saul, you're officially a writer, and your first script, Five-O, was actually nominated for an Emmy Award for Best Writing. How do you wrap your mind around all of this craziness?
Badly, incompletely. I don't know. It's a lot, and I just I've been ridiculously lucky to have followed this sort of chain of luck from getting the job in the first place to being here now. So I'm just very grateful and a little bit overwhelmed.
How did you hear about the news of your Emmy nomination? Where were you? What was your mindset?
I was pretty much in the office, so I got the news, and people were very excited here. There were you might be able to see in the background. There's ribbons on my door, so the whole place was decked out with balloons and so on and so forth. So it was pretty impressive.
Nice. And the show also got in for best drama series. That's kind of unusual for a first season show to get in. Breaking Bad, it took the second year is when that one got in.
Yeah,
so,
we were very happy about that. We were, I think, not surprised in the sense of like, oh my God, that's impossible, but like we were happily surprised, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And the episode you wrote, it was Five-O. It was a fan favorite from season 1. And this was the Mike flashback episode. We got to know way more about him than ever before. I think fans have been waiting for this for probably 5 or 6 years now. So how was it that you were tasked with this? Or was this something you came up with on your own?
No, we usually, I mean, when we break stories, where everyone's together in the room, and you kind of, you can see a little bit what might end up in your episode, because we're sort of talking, and we'd been talking for the first 4 episodes about Mike's backstory and when we were going to get into it, and at a certain point, because it ended up being the 6th episode, but we broke it as if it was the 5th. Episode of the season, and that was my episode, and I knew that was going to be my episode. So suddenly it was like, oh, this is all going to land on my episode, and I was a little bit scared that I wasn't going to be able to, kind of live up to the material, because we all really liked what we'd been talking about, and it seemed really fun, and it seemed like it became clear we were just going to do it all in a run and all at once, and it was going to be mine. So I was daunted, but hopefully managed to sort of keep it together. So,
yeah, I think so. I mean, it seems like there was a lot of pressure to make sure that this was handled, that the fans would have, this story that fans have wanted to see for so long. There must have been a lot of pressure to make sure that it was done correctly.
I think we wanted to make sure that the fans, and that Jonathan especially was given sort of the material that we felt like he deserved, because since Breaking Bad was so much Walt White's journey, and this show we have the opportunity to see what we have a little bit more space to get into, obviously, to Bob Odenkirk's character, but Jonathan Banks has a little bit more of a chance to see what made him tick, and we wanted to give him something that we knew he was a great actor, and so we wanted to give him something that he could sink his teeth into. So it was mostly avoiding getting Jonathan mad at me that I had to live up to.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. He has a common. It's almost like saying I love you, but he says that he'll punch you in the heart, or he'll punch you in the throat, and you kind of think he might. So.
And of course, Jonathan's nominated, and this is his episode that he's submitting to the Emmy judges as well. Let's talk about the nonlinear structure, because you start with a flashback, and then you're in the present, and then you go to a more past flashback. What was that confusing at all to write it, or was it kind of laid out in a way that was pretty easy?
I mean, I think we had a pretty clear sense on how it was. We were a little bit. When we wrote it originally, we were hoping that that in order to sort of make sure that the transitions were clear, that that Jonathan would be in a full beard, but because of some production challenges, just scheduling that kind of thing, and the prosthetics that it would take to go from shaven to clean shaven, or bearded to clean shaven, it wasn't feasible. So we were a little bit concerned at a couple points, but when we saw the cut and we saw the flashbacks all have a bleach bypass process on them. So when we saw it, we were like, okay, we felt like it was clear enough. And so when it was laid out, we knew that was going to be the structure, and we were just hoping that it was going to play without the need for us to say, put on a chyron that said something like Philadelphia or 6 weeks later or whatever, because that's, you want to avoid that when you can. But it felt like nobody had that problem when we were screening it or like watching it, so we felt like we could get away with it.
Also, the Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul fan base, I feel like they're a little bit smarter than the average fan. So if you had those chyrons, it would have been like, oh, we get it. You don't have to show that. We get it.
That was kind of our feeling. It was like, look, if we're losing people with this, then we're losing them, and they might not have been they weren't going to be with us anyway, and it's not to say that anybody would be, not able to follow something, but they probably wouldn't be somebody that was in for the ride in the first place. So we felt a little bit okay about it.
Everyone was raving about that final scene in the living room. Mike finally breaks down for the first time ever, talking about his son. Was that a hard scene to write, to get it right? Yes and yes. It was a challenge, obviously, because again, that was the place most of all where it's like we wanted to make sure that Jonathan had material that was up to snuff, that was up to his caliber. We worked through that monologue in the room. We talked through kind of what the major beats were. And then I kind of just went off and wrote it. It was. Somebody asked me recently, like, oh, did you go and look at like Jonathan's old, monologues from Breaking Bad or things like that? And I'm like, oh, that would have been a smart idea. I didn't do any of that because I think in the end, this is the most we've sort of seen of him. And I don't think I would have psyched myself out if I had been looking at some of the work that better writers than me had done for this character, So I'm kind of glad I didn't do that, because then it was just I don't think I would have. I think I would have been overwhelmed. So I think my favorite part is when he kind of MacGyvers the string around the lock to open the car, and then you don't know what he's doing in there until later. So he obviously took out the bullets of the gun, and he hid a gun in the back seat. So it's very, very genius, that whole scene.
Yeah, that was fun. We figured out we had so much more than what ended up in the episode kind of broken in our heads. We had not even just broken in our heads, but we work on 3x5 note cards, and so we had those note cards for the beats of him going to the crime scene where his son was killed, and how he figured out that it was not the story that his partner was telling, like that, how it was staged, and we had all of that sort of worked out, including how he went into the car, what he was going to put there, what was he going to be wearing, gloves, was he not. So we had all of those details in mind, even if they weren't even they were never in the script, or they were never sort of intended, but we always knew that those details were there to fall back on. So it made sense what he was doing, even if you never saw it. So that played.
If you could bring any character from Breaking Bad, a main character or a guest star, and focus on them as much as you focused on Mike, who would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like we're doing that with Saul, obviously. We're doing that. Maybe Gus. Gus probably seems like the one character who it would love to get some more, and we're hoping to have the chance to do that, since this is a prequel, to maybe have the opportunity. Would be so lucky if we could figure out a way to do it and in the same way do justice to that character, because he's such a man of mystery. And the trick there is obviously to maintain the mysteries that are fun and that you want to kind of leave more in your imagination. But, you know, if there's a chance to delve into that, I think we would enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So far, you guys have resisted, you know, bringing in some of the big guns. But I mean, Tuco was in the first 2 episodes, of course. But I talked to Bob Odenkirk just a month ago or so, and he said he really wants to see Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston to come back. And I'm like, I'm kind of torn on that because, you know, we see how they are in the future. I don't know if I want them to come back. I mean, Aaron Paul might be tough because he's aged so much as well.
Right. We talk about that a lot. We're hoping that there's a way that we can fit them in, but we don't really know as yet how it would feel satisfying because, you know, you could do it really easily and just have Saul at the grocery store, Jimmy at the grocery store, and Walter White walks behind him or something. But that feels like it's a cheat. It feels like, oh yeah, you got Bryan Cranston in the show, but to what end? So in the same way, we want it to be something substantial. But the challenges of getting them to do something substantial when we know Walt has not met Jimmy/Saul by the time Breaking Bad starts. We know that, yeah, we do have this sort of difference of age because we're talking about a teenage Aaron Paul versus mid-30s Aaron Paul in real life. So we're hoping we can figure out some clever way that we can do it. Maybe even see some story that we didn't know about during the Breaking Bad years or something like that. But we're not certain where that could possibly be as yet.
Right. There's so much material. I'm so glad that the show existed, that this show exists right now, because I wasn't ready to say goodbye to this universe.
Well, we're glad and we're very lucky that we have the chance to keep playing in it, and you know we all enjoy it. So, and we enjoy the people on staff and crew and so forth. So,
hey, is there a significance to why so many episodes end with the letter, or the episode titles end with the letter O? Is there a clue there or something?
You might get a different answer from Vince and Peter, but I think not really. I think we were looking at we were trying to do we were trying to nail down the final titles, and I think it was actually the one title that we couldn't get we couldn't figure out an O for, because we tried all these different versions, and we thought maybe it would be Jello, but we weren't allowed to use Jello for episode 5. And we thought it would be fun. It was basically, it would be fun, and we brainstormed all these different things, and it turned out that a lot of O ending words worked for various episodes, and then it stuck. So,
gotcha.
No conspiracy that I know of, at least.
I've been a huge Vince Gilligan fan since the X-Files days. What's it like working with such a renowned writer, producer, director, and that guy?
It's great. I mean, it's great. The whole team is really great. And Vince, from Breaking Bad forward, has, the old saying, the fish rots from the head. And it's like, this is the opposite of that. Vince is a really great leader. And now on this show, Vince and Peter work really well together. That's why they've been co-show running. So it's sort of a carryover from the model that we had from Breaking Bad. He is very generous. He's very he's great to work for. He really is, because he doesn't suffer. He neither suffers people who are bad at their jobs, nor does he suffer people who are not nice. Like if somebody's not nice to other people, he has as much of a problem with that as he does with somebody being, making a mistake or something. Because it's like you work such long hours together. There have been days where, I've spent 20 hours in a day with Vince or with any one of a number of people on the crew, and there's no call for being a jerk to somebody, So it helps. It really helps with the work. So.
And I'm looking at your competition here for the writing Emmy. You have The Americans, you have Game of Thrones, and 2 episodes of Mad Men. You're covering your face.
I do. it's an incredibly humbling field to even be mentioned alongside. I have no doubt about that. You know, it's a bunch of legendary writers and me, which makes me feel like I've snuck in wearing somebody else's clothes. So,
Well, the final question: where do you go from here? Your first script is an Emmy nominee. Just retire now. I think you can't go. You can't get any better.
Yeah, it's all downhill. That's what I keep feeling like this has got to be the this is the act of like a rise and fall story, and it's like now I guess I start being a jerk, and then like I start pissing people off, and they're like, "What happened to you, man?" And then like the fall, and then I like maybe in act two I kind of realize that I've been a bad person and I turn it around. But yeah, so that's what I think I have looking forward to.
Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting with us today. Good luck at the Emmy Awards.
Thank you, Marcus. Have a good day.
Cool. Bye-bye.